Last week, the tiny bull ring of Myrtle Beach proved too much for our drivers. An exasperating amount of caution slowed the action and doled out penalties like candy. But moving forward, we return to the mantra of bigger is better, and as we all know, everything's bigger in Texas. Things get a little faster today as we get ready to watch Round 4 of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Chris Phoebe. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and is using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Texas Motor Speedway has gone through some changes, so in case we have viewers who aren't familiar with how it once was, here's our track guide for iRacing's legacy version of the circuit.
Welcome to Texas Motor Speedway. They say everything's bigger in Texas, and TMS doesn't disappoint. Located 45 minutes northwest of downtown Dallas and just over 20 minutes north of downtown Fort Worth, Texas Motor Speedway opened back in February of 1996 at a cost of $250 million. Texas Motor Speedway has been a staple on the NASCAR and IndyCar circuits since the first major event was held here back in 1997. TMS is a 1.5-mile quad oval mirroring its sister tracks in Atlanta and Charlotte, but many an iRacer have seen their race come to an end after bouncing off the Turn 2 wall. Now on the back half of the track, turns 3 and 4 make for some of the most intense and exciting wheel-to-wheel racing in the world. They have led to many memorable finishes in NASCAR and in IndyCar, including 2 of the 6 closest finishes in IndyCar history. The Lone Star Tower stands as one of the most visually stunning structures on the iRacing surface. Boy, does it stand out under the picturesque setting Texas sun. Well, that's our look at Texas Motor Speedway. Now sit back, kick up your cowboy boots, and enjoy the show.
Texas Motor Speedway, it has certainly gone through a little bit and reshaped itself, especially as an asymmetrical track, but this old version that we see here today is very much in homage to Charlotte Motor Speedway. You can see even the 24 degrees of banking, 1.5 miles, pretty much the exact same shape, but it is very bumpy here. The drivers will have to watch out for that as the race progresses. Tends to be a little bit hotter as well, but today's got pretty decent temperatures. Definitely will be a fun one in the trucks, as should be plenty of good action and very fast action around this track, in a stark contrast to what we saw at Myrtle Beach. But before we get to the racing itself, we want to remind you that today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. The PRL NASCAR Truck Series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Of course, taking a look at our championship currently, Bradley Hawley on 2 wins is back to the 4, and he's got 16 points over, of all people, Abner Acosta, showing himself absolutely a force who's gotten used to this oval racing at this point. Thomas Sink trailing him by just 3 points as well. And don't count out Danny Cervantes there, still a couple back in 4th spot. You jump back about 7, you get to Jim Westerfield, and there's your top 5 in the drivers' points. We also, of course, have the team standings in this series. Whataback Overdrive is up at the top by a good 38-point margin over their sister team, Back Row Racing. So a pretty decent gap to the next ones down. Car Ramrod, of course, sitting in third, is followed by Riding Shotgun's Rangers teams. That's another 30-some points back to them. And then, of course, the Rescue Racing squad, pretty tightly behind the fourth place Riding Shotgun team, is keeping it interesting. For today's race specifically, of course, we are in round 4. It is going to be an 85-lap event that the drivers will be running. And they have 3 spare sets of tires. Now, that is in addition to the ones that they will start on. So 4 sets total that they'll be able to use over these 85 laps. It is a fixed setup, so the drivers won't have to worry about trying to get the advantage in that end of these trucks. But there is a 24 incident limit. And unlike last week, it's not short track racing, so probably not going to see as many cars get up to those 24 incidents before we see any DQs. Currently, we are in the warm-up for the race itself, and Bradley Hawley has been the quickest in this session, with Colton Lane trying to chase him down, about less than a tenth between the pair of them up at the front. Also, watch out for Mulrooney Jr. Now, he looked pretty quick down in Myrtle Beach. The number 14 currently sits in 6th, so he has a way to go. There you can see him threading the needle, going 3 wide here in the warm-up between the likes of Acosta and Medina, along with Mariano in there as well. I mentioned the slightly cooler conditions. It's 85 degrees Fahrenheit currently on the track surface, and very, very little wind. So at least the drivers have that mercy in their favor, that they don't have to deal with it shifting around and blowing them around this track, especially with how fast it is around here. And I'm sure that'll make them all the more susceptible to high gusts of winds. As we ride on board now with Thomas Sink in the number 48, we're waiting for another minute and a half before we get to the qualifying session. Going to be 2 laps that they will be allowed to run in that qualifying session. They'll have the track to themselves, so nobody will be able to try and pull a draft to sneak something a little bit faster. But it could come down, of course, to a little bit of tire preparation. Who can get them up to the right temperatures? They're not allowed to do burnouts or anything like that, but they are allowed to try and weave and drag the brakes to see if they can get them up to the desired temperature before they get going. Sink now being chased by Dominic Begin, our winner in round 1. And he's currently sitting 7th, just behind Mulrooney Jr. here in the warm-up session. Begin, of course, not having the best of remainder of the season since his win at Michigan. Here's hoping, though, that we can return to the form that the series saw at that opening round. As since then, Myrtle Beach unfortunately had quite a few cautions. And an interesting note about that, with those cautions, that of course unfortunately gave us a few penalties. We actually have 2 drivers today who are suspended for a race. Adam Zemke and James Durr will not be allowed to race here at Texas. And then the list of drivers who will be sent to the end of the line at the start of the race is a long line. Here we go. Adam Shane, Barron Hilton, Brandon Adams, Brett Adams, John LaBaff, Nick Schwartz, and William Farmer. 7 in total have been given an EOL for today's race. So expect a number of our drivers not to actually take out to the qualifying, as they will not be allowed to set a time. Should be an interesting one in that sense, as we just start our qualifying now, and the drivers start to pick up speed heading out onto the apron of the first few corners. But again, our viewers who are used to the more recent version may note that it is much more symmetrical, of course, in this version, so they don't have the long, wide, and shallow first 2 turns. They are equally 24 degrees on both sides. Looks like we're having some problems with Chris Foby joining us today, so standing in for him, we have Adam Lindgren, a stalwart here with the PRL NASCAR trucks. Welcome in, Adam. We're just starting on qualifying.
Hey, Joe. It's nice to be back. It's been a while, but it's nice to be back in calling for the trucks tonight. Looks like everyone's just getting rolling out now on this beautiful, beautiful speedway. It's such a fast place here, and it's really hard to keep the truck underneath you as you go into these bankings. As we right on board with Patrick Cowgill as he dives it down into 3 and 4. He's doing a good job of keeping it stuck to the bottom, but as these runs go on, depending on how this set tends to favor, it might end up being tight and difficult, or might end up being really loose, so we'll have to find out, especially on corner exit. But there's Patrick setting the first time at 29.860.
So far, nobody ahead of him. Everybody following through. And still in the first 6, nobody able to go any quicker. We haven't seen the likes of guys like Bradley Hawley out there yet. This is Kulhanek in the 89 currently. His first lap good enough for 11th. Colton Lane now manages to go quicker than Cal Gill by about 3, just shy of 4/100ths of a second between the 60 and the 31.
Yeah, Colton Lane a good time. Brandon Walters able to one-up it by 2/1000ths of a second, so a good time for him for sure. This is Jim Westerfield who just finishes his first lap. Then we have Jose Medina who's going to do a 29.862 for Jose. That's good enough for 7th place. Terry Marinero coming across the line, good enough for 11th, one of the newer names in the series this season. So quite a few drivers joining the season, for the first time. So it's awesome to see them on board.
All right, our back-to-back winner, Bradley Hawley, is on the track and just starting his first flying lap. So this is the one we want to watch out for. Could easily snatch pole away here. As he comes around 1 and 2, Jose Medina takes it down into pit lane as his lap was only going to be good enough for 9th, at least for the time being. He might still get shoved down by a few more drivers waiting to put times in.
Wow, Joe. Aaron Mulrooney Jr. just put in the same exact time as Colton Lane down to the 1,000th. iRacing determines that Aaron Mulrooney Jr. is faster, but that's really close. Here's Bradley Hawley setting his first lap.
29.989. That's only good enough for 12th. He'll get one more shot at it as we now look at Nick Hunter. The 109 also a little bit slow, just above 30 seconds, and that'll put him into 18th.
Yeah, lots of these second laps seem to be where the money is made right now. That must be where the tires are warmed up and in their operating window. Mike Richter coming across the line for his first lap at 29.909. But Bradley Hawley, his second lap, crosses the line 29.757. And that's going to be good enough for 3rd. He's not going to grab pole today, Joe.
Ooh, Mulrooney is our one currently up in the top spot. And Danny Cervantes now goes up into 3rd on the inside of Hawley on lane 2. So that is interesting as well. Seeing if we've got anybody else that's able to set a time. I see Mark Kalin. It looks like his first lap good enough for 12th. Comes around for another. Many of the drivers that are not putting a time down are the ones that I mentioned that have been given an end-of-line penalty here. Just about 40 seconds left on the clock as Sink comes through. And his second lap was his quicker one of his 2 attempts. What about Kalin? Same thing, 29.7, about a 10th faster. That'll actually jump him into 8th position.
Yeah, great drive from everybody in qualifying. And it looks like we do have Chris back on board, so I'm going to hand it over to him to read the grid off with you, Joe.
Awesome stuff. Welcome back, Chris, and thanks for joining us. It looks like we're going to have an interesting grid, especially with so many not able to actually put in a qualifying lap because of their penalty. So let's go through our starting order. Aaron Mulrooney Jr. is on the pole with Colton Lane starting to his outside. It's Danny Cervantes in P3. Bradley Hawley all the way down in 4th here, but watch out for him in the race. Brandon Walter will start 5th, and then Doug Evans on the outside of row 3. Abner Acosta, not his best qualifying, but he still is pretty good with strategy. He'll start from 7th. Mark Kalin will be P8, and Patrick Cowgill in 9th. And then, Chris, we've got Connor Hall starting 10th.
And just outside of the top 10 is going to be Daniel Knight in 11th, followed by Dominic Beijing to his outside. Thomas Sink and Jose Medina make up row number 7, with Mike Richter and Charles Sumner in the next row. 17th place on the grid is going to be Jim Westerfield with Doyle Lawrence in 18th. 19th is Nicholas Hunter, and Brendan Chatley completes the top 20.
And 21st, Ed Fowler will then be flanked by Terry Marinero. And then it's Stacy Hunter starting 23rd. Matthew Kulhanek starts 24th. And the last driver to put a time in was Ryan Traver in 25th. Then we get to our drivers without a time. Zemke, Adams, Aubrey, Farmer, Brandon Adams, John LaBaff, Adam Shane, Nick Schwartz, Baron Hilton, William Lee, and Shelby Huff. 36 drivers out there right now. And let me see if we've got everybody in the session. Looks like Shelby Huff is not here. So 35 starters. And we were talking a little bit about it, that the conditions are good, but how do you think these trucks are going to look like over the course of a stint, Chris? Is it going to be a case of needing to be careful on them with the high speeds?
I mean, this is a very
Seems to be having a few more
so I think
troubles
it'll be in everybody's best interest to maybe play it safe here in the early running.
Apologies there, we lost you for just a little bit, Chris, so I may have talked over you some. But yeah, it should be fascinating as we are on board with some of our mid-pack drivers, waiting for them to take off behind the pace truck here to start 85 laps today here in the PRL NASCAR Truck Series, with Aaron Mulrooney going to be leading the way. That was a fun one to watch Mulrooney and Knight battle so much last round for those podium spots. It's just a shame it didn't turn out well for them at Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, I think Aaron Mulrooney showed a lot this last week at Myrtle.
Looks like we're still having...
And I'm excited to see what he does here.
Still getting a little bit of cutting out there with Chris, so we'll try and get that sorted out here as we wait for this pace lap to finish up. Watch out for Colton Lane and the speed that number 60 tends to have. And don't count out Bradley Hawley. Buddy's going to be on the outside on the start. So that is going to be interesting. I think Danny Cervantes could sneak himself up into second, depending on what kind of jump he gets on Colton Lane. Pace truck going to release them. Mulrooney will have control. Waiting for the green flag. There goes the pace truck. Green flag is out, and the number 14 is off. Pretty even start for everybody back there, but it looks like Cervantes is going to get that USPS truck down to the inside, and we've already got a caution. Oh, multiple trucks and a huge wreck. Trying to see who potentially started this. Brett Adams is smoking in the number 23, so he clearly had a big hit. Looks like this started with Fowler in the 05. So let's see, coming to the start. Oh, you know, there was a checkup in front of him. It was Nick Hunter, unfortunately. Fowler's going to get a piece of it. And then, man, a lot of trucks getting involved. I see William Farmer, Stacy Hunter, Brett Adams, Ryan Traver, John LaBaff. Looks like Adam Shane as well. There's, wow, some big hits involved. Matthew Kulhanek has a smoking truck as well. Nick Schwartz. William Lee may have avoided it. Yeah, it looks like he's slowed up enough at the start. No spare trucks here. So our drivers who got damage at this first lap before even getting in the first corner are going to have a very long day ahead of them. Chris, this is certainly not the signs that we were hoping for, especially after Myrtle Beach. Might still be having a few problems there with Chris's microphone. So we now get our first caution without even getting into the first corner. But your order is currently Mulrooney leading Cervantes, who managed to hold on to second place over Colton Lane despite starting in P2. The outside line just didn't look like it was working well. And then Bradley Hawley gets shuffled. Well, he was in fourth, excuse me. Actually, it was only Lane and Cervantes that started this race in swap positions among those top four. Hopefully we will get restarted pretty quickly. Drivers down taking repairs right now include Fowler, LaBaff, Aubrey, Adams, Traver, and Kulhanek. A few of them have managed to get back out there. Looks like Daniel Knight is returning to the track. Thomas Sink, I see, after a short break, is back out. And Adam Shane had to definitely bang away at it because it was 37 seconds. But he's brought the 65 back out on track. Well, while we continue to wait for them to pace, the drivers having some time to think about what happened, and Cowgill is in the 31. Here is an unusual bit of strategy. Not sure if maybe he's thinking long-term. Could be that he's looking at it like we had with Myrtle Beach. Very quick splash and dash for the 31. Indeed, just a little bit of fuel, and he is going to come back out. He's going to lose the track position, but that'll help him take less fuel down the line. Right, so will we get restarted here? Checking to see if the lights are off on the pace truck. No, they are still on, so we'll get about a lap and a half more to go before we go green.
Well, Joe, I realized a life lesson here today during this broadcast.
And?
Apparently you're supposed to pay your internet bill.
Yeah, that tends to help you get a little bit better feed. I will admit that's a very clever observation there, Chris.
My alternate joke was going to be apparently you can't run iRacing on dial-up, but I don't know if there's enough people out there that still remember dial-up.
Yes, we are becoming dinosaurs in that sense. In fact, I'm pretty sure dial-up was a thing of the past by the time you and I were graduating high school at this phase. So we now come around as the lights have come off and we go double file. Well, I don't know if you were able to see, but we had one taker on a very interesting strategy. Patrick Cowgill took a splash and dash.
Well, we saw that strategy pay dividends last week for somebody else, so I mean, it can't hurt to try, especially the way the racing is here at Texas. There's a very good chance that this could work out.
And the stewards are letting them know that Mulrooney will have control on the restart as soon as the pace truck rather, is in pit lane. The orange, white, and blue number 2 of Aaron Mulrooney Jr. will be able to lead them off. And he starts very early this time compared to last time. Green flag is out. And Colton Lane apparently started in the wrong gear, and he is falling like a rock. He's down to 6th position. Everything's starting to get up to speed, but horrible start there for the 60.
Tough break for Colton Lane. Apparently his transmission is ran by the same people that supply my internet.
Meanwhile, we got a fight between Walter and Hall. This is for 4th place. The 77 of Hall going to be able to get to the inside. He'll take that spot away. Looks pretty single file otherwise behind him, other than Mark Kalin and Doug Evans. That's going to be for 8th position. Kalin down to the inside. He'll be able to take away from Evans. Oh, drifts up a little bit though. Has to check up. Evans going to have the better run.
Yeah, I see a great on-board look here as we head down the back straightaway. These drivers carry so much speed off into turn number 3 here.
Sweet ride on board. This is with Kalin looking ahead at Doug Evans across the line to start lap 8. Up at the front, not missing a whole lot. It is a little bit of a 2-car breakaway. Mulrooney and Cervantes managing to leave the rest of the field behind.
Yeah, these 1.5-mile races for these NASCAR trucks, Joe, have just been absolutely phenomenal the last couple seasons. I'm really excited to see how this one plays out at the good version of Texas Motor Speedway, as some like to say.
Yeah, and we've talked about that a little bit in the lead up to this race. Looks like we got a battle for 3rd as Connor Hall manages to overtake Bradley Haller, and maybe it was a successful defense here. 77 ahead of the 184. Adam had so much fun in his brief time returning to calling this series. He's joined us once again. Adam, I'm kind of surprised to see Hawley not take the pole here today, but it looks like he's still got a good truck under him.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully he did remember that this was the good version of Texas and didn't practice the other version that has caught some out before. We're watching him right now battle with Connor Hall and Brandon Walter, and he looks to be struggling just a little bit on pace. He's got Colton Lane tucked in behind Brandon Walter as well. He's recovered from his bad start on being in the wrong gear. So as he's recovering, keeping my eyes on Daniel Knight, who's down in the 17th position after that early wreck. So quite a few drivers are a little bit out of position right now.
And we've only got 28 drivers still on track. 3 are trying to get repairs in time to return. Kulhanek, Traver, and Adams. Remember, Patrick Cowgill with his, is ducking way down to the inside. That was the 184 of Bradley Hawley having to take evasive action. So Connor Hall going to stay high as they both come off the corner side by side down to the line. The edge will go to Bradley Hawley, but now he's got to complete it through 1 and 2.
And that's no small task. Connor Hall has shown here in the last few weeks he is a very tenacious competitor in these trucks. And so far making that outside line work as he comes off of turn 2.
Still keeping the overlap. The 184 is not giving up on this one. They get a brief little bit of cloud cover before it goes away once again. And it's just going away from the high side, working well for the 77. Another successful defense.
Yeah, and that was a very good move through 3 and 4 to make that work. 1 and 2 didn't seem to be working for him on the high side as Mark Kalin in the background puts Doug Evans high, and Doug starts to fall backwards in that 41 machine. That's the truck you see up on the high side there as we're riding on looking backwards. But yeah, that worked out pretty well there for Connor.
So Kalin manages to get this spot away, put himself into P8, and there is a whole buffet of trucks in front of him. That's Bajin, Lane, and Walter directly ahead. Could we see him take over a few more here? He is a little bit loose coming into turn 1, holds onto it, but that's not the sort of approach he was looking for.
I tell you what, Joe, that exit off in turn 2 is going to be one of the trouble spots here, I think. The way these trucks seem to...
I think we're going to have a little bit more fun there, banging away at the modem of Chris Phoebe. But our leaders got very close last lap. Mulrooney found Danny Cervantes right behind him for a brief moment. And he's closing up once again. They have gapped Connor Hall by about a second at this point. So they are clearly the class of the field in these early stages.
Yeah, Joe, it was on the exit of 1 and 2 where it just seemed like Mulrooney got a little bit too high, ended up washing up the track a little bit, and that allowed Cervantes to catch right up to his rear bumper. But Mulrooney's gotten the truck back underneath him, but it seems like 1 and 2, he's a little bit inconsistent, and as you can see, gets a little bit high, and here comes Cervantes back to his bumper again. So we might see a lot of this tonight, and if he keeps doing that, he's going to wear off that right front tire, and that could really cause a problem later on in this run.
Both of them sliding up quite a bit, but we've got to go back to the battle between Brandon Walter and Dominic Bajin. Bajin is going to hold on to P6, but it is very tight quarters. I suspect that one little slip-up will be a major problem for these 5.
Absolutely. If anybody slips up at the front of this, everyone's going to have to check up. And as Chris often says, these are very much momentum machines. If you lose that momentum, if you have to back off by 20 miles an hour by a good, 100 to 200 RPM, you really have to, it really does bog your truck down, and it makes it so you can't catch up to the guys up ahead. And at such a high-speed track like Texas, that's going to be a big problem.
Still Colton Lane at the front of the group. He's back up to 5th after his poor restart. Ooh, a poor exit, though, for the 99. And here comes Kalin. Kalin might have a good shot here at getting into 7th. Looks like he's got it. Walter, though, might go 2 down. Doug Evans taking advantage on the low side, but he gets very loose off the corner.
Yeah, and keep your eyes on Abner Acosta as well. He's starting to catch up to the back of Brandon Walter, and he's going to think about making a move here. It looks like we have a truck who's lost a lot of speed. That's Nicholas Schwartz, who's falling backwards on the front straight down in 23rd position. I'm going to take a look at what happened to him.
Ooh, and you were right about Acosta. Acosta already up to 9th, made easy work out of Brandon Walter. So, seems the number 5 trying to make steady inroads forward. Acosta started this race in 7th and fell back a little bit, but has got his feet underneath him.
Looks like Connor Hall has been passed by Bradley Holly. Bradley just got the job done through 1 and 2, and he's sizing up Danny Cervantes for 2nd as well.
Just seems like you cannot keep that 184 down. Doesn't matter where he qualifies or what sort of things he gets into, he somehow manages to claw his way back into the equation. As Cervantes had a little bit of a blink, the 77 going to follow the 184 through, though. Cervantes, unfortunately, going to find himself going from 2nd to 4th in about a corner.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not hard to do, to be honest, to fall that far down. Here comes Connor Hall, though, back to the bottom of Bradley Halley. Bradley trying to hang on to the high side. Connor Hall diving down to the low side. Bradley gave him plenty of room here. He's going to try and carry the momentum off the corner. He's going to get that, but Connor Hall's got some decent speed still on that door.
Still right up to the right front. He's got the shorter line down on the bottom, and Connor Hall finishes it up. A little bit of blinking yet again for the 25 of Danny Cervantes. And Bradley Holly now up into the podium positions. Real question is, if he gets by Connor Hall here, can he run down Mulrooney?
I mean, the question is not if, but when Bradley Holly can run down Mulrooney. We know his pace. He's had it for multiple seasons now, so it's definitely one of the things he's very good at. Look at him. He's just pushing the back of Connor Hall, getting him loose off the corner. This is going to make Connor want to back off, but Connor just keeping his foot in it. A great job. Now they're going to start to catch Mulrooney in spades because of how fast they're going.
Oh, but the 77 does not look totally comfortable. Saw that tail start to get out from under him.
Yeah, he's just putting the pressure on right now. Bradley is very, very much intent to get by, but they've got to be careful because they've got Dominic Bajin, Colton Lane, and Danny Cervantes catching up as well. Connor Hall's going to slot in behind Bradley Holly, but he's got to look out because here comes Dominic Bajin.
With the switch around, the 77 manages to find his way underneath, but he doesn't keep his nose in, backs out of it. He knows there's still a long ways to go in this race. Now, almost looked like Colton Lane, or Danny Cervantes rather, dropped back intentionally with his blinking, which is good news for Colton Lane, who is now up to 5th and maybe even 4th, as he's been hassling the 66 of Bajin.
Yeah, Dominic Bajin is very intent on not letting Colton Lane get by, but look at this. Connor Hall washes up the track once again. He's going to put a block on Dominic Bajin. Colton Lane's going to try and go on the high side. Dominic's going to have to back out of it. Let's see whether Colton can hold it up there.
Well, so much for holding off in this early feisty moves from Connor. And this caused them to go side by side. Colton Lane and Dominic Bajin drag racing down to turns 1 and 2. Bajin has the inside in the darker colored truck. The Canadian carries that extra speed around well. He'll get back to 4th place. He'll have to try again.
And Joe, Connor came on the radio and apologized to Colton, saying that he just got loose off the corner. It wasn't as much of a block as we thought. He still was loose coming off of 1 and 2. That was Danny Cervantes poking his nose back in, but he can't stick up there. Here comes Colton Lane to try and do the over-under on Dominic Bajin. Can't quite do so. Dominic sticks his truck right on that bottom line, blocking it. They did make a little bit of contact, but Dominic really does not want to move.
Sweet.
Oh, he clipped the apron!
Gets turned around, he gets hit by Cervantes, and then Kalen. Everybody behind is looking like they're trying to check up. So far, so good. I think they minimized the damage.
Ooh, that was scary. Yeah, Dominic Bajin just clipped the apron there and ended up checking up. Colton Lane had nowhere to go, Joe.
I wonder, did he hit the outside wall after that? Yeah, he did. He took a big thwack, unfortunately. We're going to watch the replay. Watch the 60 climb the hill and just pancake it, and then unfortunately Kalen T-bones into the Canadian of Dominic Bajin. Everybody else just kind of scattering around onto the sides.
Yeah, he's loose all the way through this corner. He has to back out of it, and then Colton Lane just clips him just a little bit, and that's what ends up causing this wreck. It's so easy to do in these trucks, especially if the setup is set up to be loose like it is tonight. And the further you get into the run, the more loose it's going to be at speed, and he just couldn't quite catch it.
Well, that gave us a much longer green flag run that time. I have to imagine, though, are we going to see pretty much everybody come into the pits? I think I'm going to get my answer right here.
Yeah, I mean, I would, especially after seeing that wreck and what caused it, I would definitely come into the pits.
Any takers? Any takers? Not really. I think the only couple that we see staying out are those who are laps down and had to get repairs after that first incident.
All right, Joe, let's see whether Bradley Holly's excellence on pit road continues this season, whether or not he can beat Mulrooney Jr. off of pit road.
Waiting for everybody to get their service and get out. Holly's quick. Holly's very quick. Oh my goodness. And Holly does in fact beat him to the line. Mulrooney to second. Holly up to the lead, and Connor Hall returns in third. Now, how about Abner Acosta, though? All four tires, and he somehow manages to get a fourth.
Absolutely. Bradley Holly just showing just how good he is on pit road, and it looks like he's going to be able to retain that position. What a great job to get in and out of his pit box faster than anybody. That's where the practice comes in for him, and even when he's not the fastest on track, he's the fastest in pit lane, and it makes a huge difference.
Well, that first wreck cost us quite a few people. Stacy Hunter, Shelby Huff, Adam Zemke, Matthew Aubry, and Ed Fowler are all officially out of this race, unfortunately. Still waiting for a few drivers to take extra repairs. Danny Cervantes, one of those. Remember, he unfortunately caught a big part of this second wreck.
Yeah, and Colton Lane has also come in for some extensive repairs. He was in his box for a full minute before coming back out, so he's trying to stay on the lead lap, but he's all the way back in 25th now. So Colton, who is up there battling for top 5 positions, just because of that one little mistake there that happened with Dominic Magine, he's now way back in the back.
Going to be restarting well into this race. We're on board with Brennan Shatley. Currently runs in 9th position after starting in 20th, and that is with qualifying. He's not one of the drivers given an EOL, so this is legitimate from the number 59. What a climb for him.
Yeah, Brendan's known for doing this in the series. Charles Sumner as well, who's just behind him. But William Farmer, a newer driver to the series, he's up 18 positions from his starting position as well. So quite a few drivers are doing a great job right now, just staying consistent, staying clean, and climbing their way through the field. It's awesome to see those drivers do that, and it's going to be awesome to see how the cream rises to the top and who's going to be in the top 10 by the end of this thing.
Now, the drivers that probably want to be making more inroads the most would be, even though he's gained a lot, Abner Acosta, because he's second in the points. He sits 4th right now, so he definitely could find his way up a few more spots here. And then Thomas Sink is 3rd in the points, but man, not looking good right now. He is down in 12th position. That's only up 1 from where he started. Now, it's not dire. There's still plenty of racing left to go, but being in the mid-pack always makes you more susceptible to chaos.
Absolutely, and we're doubled up now, so as they get ready to get back green, yeah, looking at Thomas Sink, his truck's pretty clean, so he's just struggling with the handling on that machine right now. So he's got some work to do to get back up there. He's tucked in behind William Farmer, who we just talked about, and he's looking ahead at some pretty dang fast trucks up there. But here comes Abner Acosta in that 4th position, looking on at Connor Hall, Mulrooney Jr., and Bradley Holly leading this restart.
This time, instead of Mulrooney, it's going to be Bradley Holly who has control after the pace truck peels in. So we continue to ride on board. Let's watch the restart. This will be a great view of what it's like here up towards the front. Waiting patiently, and green flag waves. A very long wait there for the 184, and actually maybe a little too long, because Mulrooney Jr. is holding alongside him pretty well. Now he starts to finally fall back, and it looks like Connor Hall is going to take 2nd away from him. Top 5 going to get single file.
Absolutely, and the first truck to be up on the top is Brandon Walter in that 99 machine. He's trying to hang on to that position, but look at this side by side for the lead as we go. Bradley Holly and Connor Hall looking to the outside of Bradley there, almost leaving room for Mulrooney Jr. on the bottom. Mulrooney falling back a spot.
Mulrooney almost moved the 77 there, nearly caught the left rear of that truck, and trying another time down to the bottom. Holly leaves the door open. Connor Hall's gonna step through. New leader with the 77, and Bradley Holly drifts way up the hill, doesn't hit the wall, but a mysterious line for the 184.
Absolutely terrifying for the 184 to be up there that high, but here comes Mulrooney Jr. putting the pressure on Connor Hall. Remember last time this happened with Bradley Holly on the back of Connor Hall. Connor got a little bit loose through 1 and 2. Let's see whether it'll happen between Mulrooney and Hall.
Into turns 1 and 2. Mulrooney doesn't quite see the same opening that Connor Hall did on Bradley Holly, but Holly looks like he's got it under control at this point. He's right up with him, and here we go. It's a deep dive there from the number 2 of Aaron Mulrooney Jr., and that's going to get him the lead.
Absolutely, so it looks like the lead is definitely where you want to be as these truck drivers keep swapping for it. Here comes Bradley Holly, though, looking on the back of Connor Hall. Connor just has people all over his rear bumper all night tonight. These top 3 have broken away by about 3/10 back to Abner Acosta in 4th, who can't seem to close the gap.
Will we see another payback move there? 77 says no, not willing to try and get it in underneath Aaron Mulrooney. Bradley Holly gives watch from behind. Look at how high they're drifting here from Acosta on back, right up to the exit of 4. Acosta's got some time to make up, 7/10 to catch our trio.
Absolutely. I think their concern is going to be tire wear for this group that's behind these leaders. And look at this. Bradley Holly even is starting to back off a little bit because they saw what happened and what caused that last wreck. They realized just how loose they were going into 1 and 2. So I think everyone's going to start managing their tires a little bit into this stint.
We're getting very close to the halfway point of this race. Not something that means a whole lot, but obviously the drivers will get an idea of where they sit in terms of pace by the time they hit that halfway point.
Oh, and we've had a wreck. Nicholas Hunter and Mark Kalin have gotten into each other in 1 and 2.
Oh, what a day for Kalin. Just cannot catch a break on this one after he's been racing so well. Hunter to his outside, if we go to the replay, is just going to be right where he wants to put it. Looks like Terry in the 88 is going to get a piece of it.
Mark just clips the apron. It's so easy to do. It's such a fast track like Texas where you need to be right down there on the paint. You're going to see it right here as he goes into the corner and clip, and he goes up there. Let's see whether he can get on board with Adam Shane and see this wreck because he had a good avoidance maneuver.
I think he got a small little piece of it, but should be pretty good. He already had a little bit of damage anyways. The 65, though, doing a great job staying calm in that situation and just picking his spot perfectly.
I can't even see it. Whew.
I'm going to double check on mine, see if he did get it or not. Does have a little damage on the left front. It was the right front that was hit. So yeah, if he did, it was the lightest of grazes. So he may have gotten away with it. In the meantime, I see the likes of Brennan Chatley, after such a great climb, decides to give up the track position and be essentially the only one. No, it looks like he's got a few friends coming in. Colton Lane, Nick Hunter, William Lee, Mark Kalin. Of course, Kalin involved in that wreck. And then Baron Hilton also in the pits.
Well, absolutely. With their with the tire limits that they impose in this series, and we're going to be restarting about halfway for these drivers, so it makes sense to come in and grab your second set of tires on the wall now, and then there's not much to lose for these guys who are a little bit further back, especially with the difference that tire wear is making for their speeds. So I don't think it's the worst idea, Joe.
We have had at least 2 drivers that have taken 3 stops, Daniel Knight and Colton Lane. Now, that doesn't mean that they've taken tires on every stop, mind you. Interesting to see what the patterns have been so far. Everybody has been in at least once in the field. So as we look at Daniel Knight in the number 17, currently rides in 15th position after starting the race in 11th. A little down, but again, he's also taken 2 more pit stops than most of the other drivers around him.
Yeah, and Joe, if you're wondering what the difference in fresh tires to old tires are, at the beginning of that last stint, the drivers at the front of the pack were doing 29.7s. At the end of the last stint, they were doing 30.9s. The last lap actually was a 31.073 for Mulrooney Jr. before the wreck happened. So it's a good second to second and a half that these fresh tires are going to play, especially later on in the race if you can get people off sequence.
Just trundling down the backstretch, waiting for the lights to go off on the pace truck before they can go too wide. John LaBaff has been taking some extensive repairs, which he seems to have just now finished up. As he comes back out to the track, Kalen seems to be doing a similar strategy, just getting a little bit of that sheet metal banged in before he gets lapped so he can stay on that lead lap, which is going to come around quickly because Mulrooney's off of 4 now.
Yeah, so quite a few drivers trying to get their damage repaired. Mark Kalen currently in the box trying to get some stuff done himself. He is leaving now, but it's so difficult when you get damage like that. I mean, for Kalen, he's got some pretty significant damage. So as they double up behind the pace truck, he's going to have to hope for something better. It looks like Colton Lane's going back to pit lane even as they double up again. So he has more damage than we expected coming off of that wreck 1 caution ago.
And we are going to restart at the halfway point. 42 laps out of 85. This will be fascinating. Connor Hall going to be starting on the outside. So far from what I've seen on the restarts here, Adam, seems that second place position is not as quite as desirable as you may want.
No, especially with people who know how to get good restarts like Mulrooney Jr. and Bradley Holly. The second place position tends to be a very tough one. Let's see how Connor Hall handles it. I would expect Bradley, Holly, and Connor Hall to be going side by side into turn 1 with Mulrooney Jr. probably a good 3/10 up the road.
Okay, here we go. Pace truck getting ready to go. And there we go. Mulrooney is off. Connor Hall definitely comes down as quickly as possible. He covers it off. So now Abner Acosta trying to challenge the long way around of Bradley Holly. And Holly's not going to let him have it. Holly will stay in 3rd. We might have a challenge for the lead. Connor Hall has a big run. No, he's going to give a huge bump to Mulrooney. Try to give him the hurry up down the backstretch.
That's a really weird restart, Joe. It seemed a little bit sluggish towards the rest of the field, so I don't know whether Mulrooney Jr. possibly took them down at a little bit of a slower pace, so it made it difficult to get the tires under them. But everyone seems to be held up a little bit, and Bradley Holly's under some significant pressure from Abner Acosta now.
Not just Acosta, Mike Richter, Brandon Walter, also Doyle Lawrence. There's a whole train of them behind. They have now officially gotten past the halfway point, coming down through 3 and 4. I wonder if Holly, though, I wonder if he likes the truck a little better once it's kind of gotten broken in to a stint. Because last time, remember, once they got a few laps down, he just was charging up through very fast drivers. That time through 1 and 2 was pretty good behind him. The 51 of Richter goes a little high. Walter thinks about the inside, then thinks better of it.
Yeah, Brandon Walter, they're looking towards the inside of Mike Richter. Charles Sumner also is now caught up to the back of this train, and Bradley Holly's actually holding up these guys quite a bit. Connor Hall and Mulrooney Jr. are out to about a 1.5 second lead, and Bradley's probably thinking long run pace here. That's why he's holding up so much. But the rest of these guys seem to want to go. It looks like Abner Acosta is one of the few guys who's caught on to the fact that Bradley might have something up his sleeve by taking this slow pace.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Acosta has been very clever in the past on the road and oval side with his pit strategy. So he knows how to run a race in the long term.
And Joe, Thomas Sink is only 1 second out of third place right now. He's currently about seventh in line in this train behind Bradley Holly.
Interesting. Oh, and we might have some drivers behind him thinking about a pass, including the likes of Patrick Calgill in the 31. He's going to go side by side with Farmer. Farmer can't really do much. In fact, he might get freight trained because there's just a line of trucks behind him and no way to get to the bottom. That includes Knight in the 17 and Bijin in the 66.
Oh boy, and that was Bijin almost getting into the back of Knight. Knight also has a damaged bumper, so that could be a problem for Knight if this happens. Oh, and Knight has to take a little bit of evasive action to avoid some unstable trucks on the high side. This is going to get pretty intense here. These guys have got to get a little bit more careful as they go through these corners. These trucks are getting a little bit squirrely.
Looking like we're seeing a bit of a pattern in that case, that it doesn't take long for the heat out on the track and the abrasive nature of it to eat away at the rubber. So who can manage them? Who can keep them underneath them and keep the speed on them all the way for a long stint until the checkered flag?
Yeah, and look at this. Dominic Bijin's actually going to the high side. He's kind of trying to back out of it, but he looks very unstable in that Iron Maiden machine. He's now followed back into line, but look at this. Daniel Knights is kind of caught up there in the middle of this pack. This is a big, big cluster of trucks that are trying to figure out how to get around here without wrecking each other right now.
I've mentioned it before, when you're in the mid-pack, easier to get tangled up in other people's mess-ups. So they've got to be careful through here as the high side. Oh, a little bit of contact between Calgill and Evans.
Oh, that's so close. They were almost 3 wide. That's going to be Calgill going up the track just a little bit there. Doug Evans trying to hang on to it in front of him. Oh my goodness, these truck drivers are putting it all on the line right now.
So as Calgill continues to hold low, he finds a tighter exit off of 2. Evans got no response for that one. As into 3 and 4, can the 31 finish it off? Yes, he can. Finding just enough space behind him, Doug Evans gets in front of Brennan Chatley.
That gap ahead of Bradley Holly's up to 3 seconds, up to Connor Hall in second place. So Bradley currently is starting to pull away from this pack a little bit himself. He's got a 6/10 lead over Abner Acosta, who's got 3/10 over Mike Richter. So as these guys are squabbling in the back, the guys up front have seemed to have settled into their tires and are now starting to run away.
Big time. That 3.3 second is not what Holly wants to see, especially now that we're into the latter half of the race. He's going to have to start pushing, see if he can run them down. Pretty soon, we're going to be down to 30 laps left to go.
I'll be honest, Joe, they can make it to the end on fuel. But the real question is can anybody squirrel this thing around and make it to the end on tires? That's going to be the question. I think everyone's going to give it a shot because that's going to be the fastest way. But it may not be the safest, and whoever can wheel this thing around is going to be the one who gets away with it. But man, things are intense down in 13th, 14th, and 15th. We got William Farmer, Dominic Bijin, Baron Hilton, all battling for that position, and these trucks look mighty to handle.
Drifting a little bit high. That looks like Hilton in the 47, as the 44 of Nick Schwartz is going to be able to get underneath him. Heading down the back stretch, the Californian trying his best to finish the job on the Texas driver. Not a place where I'm sure he wants to have a poor showing. Baron Hilton.
Oh, and it's side by side for the lead, Joe.
Oh!
Connor Hall's made the move on Mulrooney into 1 and 2.
And that was down into the first corner. Now, did he let him have this? Because this was very sudden. Let's see, does he just... Yeah, he just gets a nose in, and it looks like Mulrooney got the call. Just said, okay, let's let him have it. We'll see where we can go from there. But maybe that was not the best way to go about things, because it's already stretched up to about half a second between himself and Connor.
Yeah, and Bradley Holly's gained a full second on Mulrooney because of that. Let's go back down to P6 between Doyle Lawrence and Brandon Walter. They're kind of just hanging on. They're at the front of this train now as Mike Richter up ahead is starting to pull away. There's Brendan Chatley trying to make a move on Thomas Sink in 8th.
Sink's going to give him space down at the apex. Drifts way up high, though, maybe a little too wide. Tries to come back down. Behind him, it's Patrick Cowgill in the 31. But that Rockstar machine is going to be able to get his nose in, at least start an attempt at a pass. He's got to get it done from here on out. Ahead of him, blocking too wide, Walter and Shatley side by side. Shatley comes out on top in 7th. Walter falls back to 8th.
Problems for Mulrooney Jr. He's now a 1.5 seconds behind Connor Hall. Bradley Hawley now only a second behind him. Bradley Hawley is only 2.5 seconds off the lead, so this strategy seems to be working for Bradley. That waiting that long seems to have caught up to the guys ahead who burnt off their tires early, and now with just under 20 laps to go, or 30 laps to go rather, it looks like Bradley's conservative strategy is working out.
And Kalen's going very slow. So everybody back in that battle is going to have to go around him now. Remember, he is a lap down. Even still, this is definitely interrupting things. You can see it's thrown the cat amongst the pigeons as Chatley has a chance at overtaking Lawrence, and he's not going to let it go by. Instead, he's going to go by up into P6. Nicely done. Don't think the 9, though, has a space to go back down because Brandon Walter wants to get some of that action for himself.
Absolutely, Brandon Walter diving to the inside of the 9. The 9 truck just trying to hang on the high side. Is just on the edge of the grip there, so he's going to have to fall back a little bit, and that's going to allow the 99 to poke his nose through and make his way into that position. Great racing there from Walter and Lawrence. Lawrence there on that high side, and now he's getting caught out by Patrick Cowgill, who's underneath him as well.
Seems like that high line just not working well. But Bradley Hawley has already made a little bit of inroads on our leaders. Mulrooney is the first one up, having been demoted from that top spot. Truck is struggling. We are on board the 184, looking at the number 2 as they plunge into turns 1 and 2. Right now, Connor Hall 1.7 seconds ahead of the pair. If Hawley gets by, it almost looks like he does have the pace to try and chase him down.
Absolutely, Mulrooney's trying to hang on to this, but while Bradley sat behind Mulrooney, he's losing time to Hall ahead. Hall has pulled another 0.4 seconds out on Mulrooney and Hawley as they battle for this position. Bradley needs to get by, and he needs to get by now.
Ooh, meanwhile, we got some fun with Chatley as behind him, too wide, Mike Richter and the 31 of Patrick Cowgill are going to have to sort this one out. Unfortunately, with the high side, Mike Richter falls back. Brandon Walter now going to overtake him. And same thing with Thomas Sink. Just one little move, and suddenly you don't lose one position, you lose multiple.
Absolutely, getting caught on the high side now is a death sentence. The truck just is too loose at this time to try and run that high line and make it work. The truck's just going to fall down. We jump back up to the battle between Mulrooney Jr. and Bradley Hawley. Bradley's got to run this time on the backstretch, but he's staying in behind. He thought about making a move to the bottom side, but Mulrooney looked like he was going to cover it off, and now they're still running nose to tail.
This is perhaps the last thing that Mulrooney wanted to see in his mirrors, is a charging Bradley Hawley, shoving him along, knowing that he lacks pace today.
But they're catching up to Connor Hall because of this. This 2-truck tandem is faster than Connor Hall on his own. If Mulrooney can hang on to it with Bradley Hawley pushing on his rear bumper, they're going to catch Hall.
The wisdom of Hawley continues to astound, and this is why he is a multi-time champion. It's down to 0.7 of a second. On top of it, they are dragging along Abner Acosta. He is gaining right along with them, which I'm sure is making him smile ear to ear.
Absolutely, and oh man, the gap is down. Mulrooney Jr. can feel the draft of Connor Hall ahead. Acosta can feel the draft of Bradley Hawley ahead. We ride on board with Abner Acosta. He's saved his stuff. He's now catching right up to the back of these guys. It's going to be a 4-way fight for the win with 20 laps to go.
Whew. Can Connor Hall bring this one home? The driver that hasn't been all that exciting so far this race, except for a couple saves, but has just plugging forward.
OMG. And we need to get a replay, Joe. Brendan Chatley, it just had a huge moment. He managed to save it, but this was coming off of 3 and 4. He and Patrick Cowgill got together, and this was the scariest moment of their lives.
We're going to take a look at the replay.
Yep, this is it. Here we go into the corner. It's going to get really close between these guys, and watch them save it.
Whoa. Whoa. And credit to everybody, even going down to the apron there for the 99. And still nobody wrecked among the group. All still running in the top 10. Back up to our leaders. Oh boy. Oh boy. It is a 4-truck fight for the lead. Hall, Mulrooney, Hawley, Acosta. It's a big gap back to Sink, about 2.5 seconds. But the one that looks perhaps the strongest here is Bradley Hawley.
This is what they show up for every week. This is what we show up for every week. And look how slow they are through the corners now. Only 155, 156, and we've got a caution? Possibly? No, Abner Acosta just set up the corners so well, he's going to dive everybody.
Holy
Where did he
cow.
come from?
Is that... Did he just save his tire? How did he got all 3 on the backstretch?
I have never seen that in my life. He set it up through 1 and 2. He was going high and slow. I thought he was just trying to save tires, but then he shot off the corner like a rocket.
I'm with you. At first, I thought it was a caution or something. That was just so bizarre.
They look parked.
Abner Acosta up to the front with less than 20 laps to go. Here I was calling Bradley Hawley the strong one. Now he is back in 4th instead.
The tires must have hit a cliff or something.
Well, if they did, everybody behind them has been saving much better because Sink caught up a bunch of time, and so did Cowgill.
I'm going to have to go back and look at what caused that. Was there contact between the 3 leaders?
Possibly. I'm baffled here. They're coming up on a bit of lap traffic. Acosta's used to that sort of thing, running sports cars, though. So he should be able to take this with ease.
So Connor Hall got held up through 1 and 2. He got a little bit loose on entry. Everyone else, it was Mulrooney and Bradley checked up a little bit, and that allowed Abner Acosta to shoot down the inside and take 3 positions in the case of one backstretch.
Ooh, and things are getting feisty now. Patrick Cowgill's pulling a similar move up on the high side. Is that the place to be? He gets 1, 2, maybe even 3 positions here. He's on the attack on Aaron Mulrooney Jr.
And here comes Brendan Chatley, who took a pit stop under the last caution, took those fresh tires, and 10-lap fresher tires are making a huge difference now. He's up there battling for the top 5.
My goodness.
What is happening?
This is turning on its head. Coming up to the front, even challenging on Acosta. Patrick Cowgill towing along a number of trucks behind him. He's going to go down to the inside, and the 31 is now up to the lead.
But look out for Brendan Chatley. He has fresher tires, 10-lap fresher tires than the rest of the field. If this thing stays green, Chatley's got the best opportunity to win this thing.
Here, this thing about 15 laps ago looked as calm as could be, and now suddenly it is just all turning around. You know, the other thing I hadn't thought... Whoa! That was a lapped car getting down low. That was Kulhanek.
That's going to give Chatley the opportunity to go to the inside.
He's going to take it. And does he have it? Not quite yet. Still has to work for it. High side's been good lately, but not good enough for the likes of Cowgill. In fact, already the 77 inside of him, Connor Hall, trying to fight back and get back to the lead where he was for much of this race.
I didn't think 10-lap fresher tires were going to make that much of a difference. Brendan Chatley's proving me wrong. There he is up at the lead of this race with, almost 10 laps to go? This is absolutely insane. And where's Bradley Hawley, Abner Acosta, Thomas Sink, 7th, 8th, and 9th?
Well, a lot of cars checking up in the mid-packs. Sumner amongst them, no wreck. But boy, they were almost 3 wide down the backstretch for a brief moment. Meanwhile, we watch our leaders. Chatley in first, ahead of Connor Hall. Patrick Galgill now in third, with Mulrooney in fourth. He's struggling with his tires as he also has to check up in the middle of 1 and 2. That causes Evans and Richter to have to slow up their trucks.
How has Connor Hall hung on to second after all this time? He was pushing this entire stint. Doug Evans is going to try and go around Mike Richter around the outside for 5th position. These guys have been swapping for a couple of laps. Now they've got William Lee, a lap truck that they're going to have to deal with through 1 and 2. Williams going to have to go high. This could be trouble. We have a couple of trucks who are in taking pit stops right now. I don't think they're going to have enough time to do much with it. But man, Joe, these guys are lapping 3 seconds a lap slower than their fastest laps.
The theory here is this may be fuel related. Was it tight when they pitted?
On the first time, probably. I think Chatley's free. He can go. But I think it's also tire wear, Joe. These trucks are just so hard to handle.
It is now a 1 second lead from Chatley to Hall with 10 laps to go. It's a battle for best of the rest. Currently, Connor Hall just ahead of Patrick Galgill with Doug Evans. Yeah, the more I watch this, the more I'm starting to think this is fuel related, especially the way we saw drivers check up and catch one another in bizarre ways. And going underneath Galgill, Doug Evans is going to move himself into third.
This is unbelievable stuff from all these drivers. The strategy coming into effect here. Brendan Chatley currently with a second lead, but he's starting to lose it a little bit. He lost about 2/10 coming onto the front straightaway alone. Looks like he's starting to struggle with a little bit of tires and possibly fuel management himself.
Chatley, incredibly savvy here in this race. And it could have just netted him the win, but he's got to make it to the finish from here. And if we have a caution, that'll change the complexion completely. 8 laps to go now.
Abner Acosta is 10 seconds slower than everyone else. He's fallen down to 19th. He is so far out of the lead. He's only 7 seconds out of the lead, but down to 19th position. He was battling for the lead, and there goes Daniel Knight on fresher tires. That's the difference right there.
Unbelievable. We're down to 22 cars on the lead lap. The last of them is John LeBaff. So, and actually, he's on the same strategy as Brendan Chatley.
Look at Brandon Walter fall too on that high side. Unbelievable stuff. So many of the guys who are up there in that lead pack are falling back.
Now switched over to Doug Evans. He's with Patrick Galgill. Galgill just looking to the inside. Saw some chatter from Colton Lane. It sounded a little bit frantic. I'm trying to figure out where he is. He's in 15th. They're also going by guys like Nick Hunter. Everybody just kind of having to be very aware of who is saving fuel and where on this track. Oh, and has Connor Hall saved enough of his fuel? Connor has chased back down our leader, Brendan Chatley.
Absolutely, here we go. It's time to go between these two. Now, here's the thing. Connor Hall has 10 lap older tires than Brendan Chatley. Brendan's in a good position to defend if he's saved enough fuel. So that's going to be the story here. Connor Hall on Brendan Chatley. Who's got the fuel to make it to the end? Do either of them have the fuel to make it to the end?
We're going to find out in about 5 laps. And Brendan Chatley is looking strong here through 1 and 2. We're on board currently.
Connor Hall was turning the engine off, Joe. We were just on board with him. He's turning the engine off through the corners to try and save fuel.
Holy cow. So it is going to be that close here at the end. They're approaching Mark Kalin, who's already a lap down, and they're still going to manage to overtake him. Looks like William Farmer couldn't get to the end. He heads to pit lane. Is this the beginning of everybody trickling in to take their stops?
Mike Richter's in as well. He's into the pit lane.
Oh, boy.
Colton Lane, okay, after his wreck, he was down, in the bottom of the pack? He's currently 7th position. Even with his damage, he's taken 4 stops. He took a stop on the last caution, just like Brendan Chatley did. He's now, I think, he's so far up the track, he's up at 7th.
Just unbelievable how this has suddenly come to.
Oh, Connor Hall, out of fuel.
Exciting finish. Hall falling back yet again. It must be getting very, very tight now. Almost looks like Cowgill's maybe trying to ride his slipstream to help with that a little bit. Gonna be 2 to go.
Patrick Cowgill's into the pits.
And Sumner.
Everybody's pitting, and we're hearing a lot of chatter on the radios that people are pitting. Doug Evans into the pits from 4th as well. Charles Sumner into the pits. This is starting to become the bleed point with 2 laps to go.
Adam Shane as well. Looks like Shane stays out. We're going to get the white flag. If they go past pit entry, they are committed from here. Brennan Chatley still trying to shake Connor Hall. Nobody near them. Mulrooney is 7 seconds back.
Oh, and Connor's out! Connor's out on the straightaway. He can't make it.
Chatley's still going. He's going strong. It's looking like he pitted at just the right time. That means Mulrooney's going to be able to go past Connor Hall here easily. Hall is down the backstretch at a sputter. But Brennan Chatley is at a roar, and he is going to be our 3rd different winner of the season. Brennan Chatley takes it in Texas today.
And the battle for second is intense. Bradley Hawley has jumped everybody, but he's run out of fuel. Colton Lane has to go around him. Barron Hilton's going to get second place. Colton Lane comes 3rd.
What a performance from Barron Hilton. I want to say that's the best finish we have ever seen from the 47. Colton Lane in 3rd, Nick Hunter in 4th. Bradley Hawley settles for a top 5. But that tells you something when his bad day is still a 5th.
What just happened? Let's replay this 47 because this is an intense finish. In fact, it started getting intense on the backstretch. They were 4 wide, splitting a truck that ran out of fuel as well. They go 3 wide to the corner. Bradley Hawley thinks he's got it, but then his truck runs out of fuel coming out of 4. Barron Hilton to the low side in the right position, takes 3rd. What just happened, Joe?
One of the strangest fuel races we've ever seen, I think, in the PRL. That's what happened. But it was the 59 who took victory, and while he burns it down, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so don't go away. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. The classic version of the track gave us a great round 4 for the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series. And it was Brennan Chatley with a well-earned win. A clever strategy took him from 20th to 1st. And then Barron Hilton, who was not allowed to qualify because of a penalty, started 34th and finished in 2nd. Then there was Colton Lane, who took a P3 after starting in 2nd place, the only driver on the podium who started on the podium. Nick Hunter took 4th, with Bradley Hawley having to settle for 5th position after a brief while of potentially having the lead. Adam Shane finished 6th, with Aaron Mulrooney Jr. Coming home in 7th spot. Then it's Brandon Walter in 8th as Thomas Sink finished 9th. John LaBaff rounded out our top 10.
Connor Hall comes home in 11th, dropping just one spot. Abner Acosta, with all of his moves that he made early on in this race, just can't hold on to the fuel and comes home in 12th today. Jim Westerfield in 13th. Doyle Lawrence 14th. Patrick Calgill, another one who struggled on fuel, was up there battling for the lead, drops all the way down to 15th on fuel. Mike Richter 16th tonight with Daniel Knight 17th. Jose Medina 18th on the day with Terry Marinero coming home in 19th. And then we have Nicholas Schwartz in 20th.
Only a few more finishers. Farmer in 21st, Bajin 22nd, and Adams in 23rd, with William Lee finishing P24, Charles Sumner in 25th, the last one lap down, and then Doug Evans 2 laps down in 26th, and Kalen 27th. From there on down, it was sadly DNFs, most of them from pretty much very early on, wrecking and finding themselves with blown engines. We do, however, have our winner and with us, Brennan Shatley. You know, Brennan, I have to say that I had a little bit of concern when we saw you being one of the few to pit there in the middle of the race, but what a smart move in the end. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. I knew I couldn't make it on fuel there, and the only way that I'm ever going to win one of these is with the strategy call. I don't have the talent that Brad or Connor or Tom have, so knew how to do something different than those guys. And when they didn't pit, I was like, this goes green. They're running out, and it's my race to win.
And indeed, that's exactly what happened. But tell us about what's going on in the cockpit and under your helmet as you suddenly just start passing car after car after car.
I saw, I think it was Aaron and Connor take off, and then I realized what Brad and I guess was Abner were doing. They were saving fuel, and I was like, I got to catch those guys as fast as I can to put the pressure on them, make them burn up as much fuel as I can. And I guess I caught them maybe with 10 or 12 to go, and I was getting kind of worried there. I don't have the speed that Connor has, and kind of reeled me in a couple times, and I didn't know if he had enough fuel, but last lap there I saw they ran out.
I can tell how much this one means to you, having snagged a win. And next round, we are heading to a very different track, an old school track compared to this newer facility at Milwaukee. It's known for being tricky. You said you don't have the skill, but it's a specialist circuit. Do you think you could maybe get a top 10 or something?
That's what I aim for every week. I'm not very I got the long run speed on 1.5 miles. I feel a lot more comfortable on short tracks. So usually for short tracks, I aim for like 5th through 7th, and we'll see what happens.
Got a message from Connor Halls telling you that you've got talent. You just dragged all of them. So encouraging words from your rivals. Again, go celebrate, sir, and well done.
I want to thank you guys and PRL for putting this on. For all my rescue racing guys, Barron finishing 2nd tonight, and Nick finishing 4th, and Austin at home celebrating his wife's birthday.
Great stuff, and happy birthday to her from us as well. In the meantime, Adam has caught up with another driver who I'm sure is just as ecstatic, Barron Hilton.
Absolutely. Barron Hilton, second on a podium full of people who took more than one pit stop. Barron, how close were you at the end there?
Oh man, it was so close. I mean, guys, I'm ecstatic right now. This is my best finish in PRL ever. Those guys worked hard all week. They gave me a great truck. My teammates, Brendan Chadley, he made the call to make the extra pit stop, and it paid off for us at the end.
Yeah, Barron, been commentating the series for a while, jumped on for one night and saw you got a great finish tonight. Awesome to talk to you. But Barron, talk to me about what it was like on that final lap, coming off a 1 and 2, going 4 wide with a couple of the series best, Colton Lane, Bradley Holly, and then Bradley running out after turns 3 and 4. What was going through your mind there as you came to the finish?
If I had a camera on me right now, you would see all the sweat. My underarms are soaked right now. It was seriously intense, man, but it was an awesome ride. I couldn't be more happy right now.
Yeah, Brendan, a fantastic job. And what is it that made you take that second pit stop? Was it, did you just want to do something different than the guys ahead of you? Were you calculating the fuel yourself, or did you just want the extra fresh tires?
We talked about it on the comms, and we knew if we made that last pit stop that we would make it on gas. We would also have a little bit fresher tires, so I could be able to be a little bit more aggressive toward the end. And what can I say, man? Great call.
Well, Baron, a fantastic finish tonight, and I want to give you an opportunity to thank anybody you'd like to right now.
Yeah, first off, I'd like to thank my teammates, Rescue Racing, you guys, GSRC, for putting on a great broadcast, PRL for putting the league together, ETC, Rowan Delight, also Philly Paws. We're raising money for these animals. To get more information for it, go to rescue-racing.com. And man, thank you guys.
Always repping a very valuable cause. Thanks for talking to us, Baron. And Joe, it looks like you've caught up with third place Colton Lane.
Indeed, and Colton is one who saw his race turn around because despite starting on the front row, things kind of went south mid-race. Tell us about that incident with Dominic.
I'm not sure. I don't know if he got loose going in, which is possible, or if he hit the apron. But when I saw it happen, and I tried to jump up to the outside, but I barely clipped him and ended up making contact with the outside wall as well. But I definitely wasn't looking for a top 5 or a top 3 after that. I'll tell you that.
It certainly played into your hands, but I mean, similar question to what we had asked the others. When you pit when you did, which was this pretty much the same lap as guys like Chatley and Hilton, was it intentional? Did you think, okay, this could swing my way if I do this, or was it just kind of sheer luck?
It was intentional. I did it on the caution before that as well, just kind of hoping, because I thought I had damage, and I think it was affecting me. I'm not totally sure. I could never really tell that run, just because some people were slower because they were saving. But the one thing that did hurt me is that I intentionally didn't take tires just in case we had a rash of cautions and I needed to come in and get some more sets. But I don't think it would have played out too differently. I think Brendan's truck was clean. I'm not sure about Barron's, but I mean, it was just a good call on everybody who pitted and made it. I mean,
well, that certainly helped save a bit of things there on the points, especially since you could have seen so many slip through your fingers after managing to qualify it on the front row. So what are you thinking then coming later in the season? We're almost at the halfway point now, so surely you've got a pretty solid picture of what your championship is looking like this season.
Yeah, I don't think this season's looking too hot, but we'll try to bring her home in a 10th place, 10th to 5th place, looking at the points up around there, and minimize the bad finishes. But I mean, the main goal is getting these top 3s, top 5s, top 10s to build towards the playoff system come towards the end of the year. Kind of hurt me a little bit last season, not building up as much as I could have or should have. So hoping to build on that this year and have a little bit better gap than I did last season.
Understandable. Obviously, that year-long playoff season is important to the drivers as well. Congratulations on salvaging a podium in that case, and feel free to thank anybody you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Waterback crew, we're always coming out here and racing in the Cup and the trucks, and Cup Series teammate on Waterback side, Baron Hilton getting second. That's pretty cool. We've always been racing with the Rescue guys too. And then just, you guys for coming out here every week and doing this. PRL been a good league for, almost 5 years now for me. And, just everybody on the track, man. We come out here, we race pretty well. This race was really good compared to last week. So we definitely redeemed ourselves with this one. And hopefully we can go into Milwaukee and kind of carry the momentum as a league and put on some more good races.
Great stuff. That was Colton Lane, our third place finisher, who was then followed home by Nicholas Hunter, just off the podium, but still a fourth place. And I believe Adam is going to be talking to him.
Absolutely. Another Rescue Racing trucker here. Nicholas, before we get to your good finish, I want to talk to you about this moment that happened about halfway through your last run. You're making a duck down to the bottom side You're making a duck down to the bottom side to try and get underneath William Farmer, and that truck just keeps turning left. Did you think that was the end of your race right there?
I mean, multiple thoughts went through my head. Just to see that hole pretty much seal up shut, and I had to check up pretty hard. I think it saved my skin pretty good.
At that point, you're quite a ways back in the middle of the pack, and taking that extra pit stop in the second caution ended up giving you the opportunity on fuel to pull ahead. What were your thoughts as you were streaming by people towards the end of this race?
First and foremost, I got to thank Chatley for making that call to see that we were just going to make it over, I believe, 5 laps of fuel. It was pretty optimistic. Now, as for everyone with the tire wear and losing all fuel, it was like I was dodging and diving, trying to avoid everyone. And especially on that white flag run, to have Holly run out of gas right in front of me, as well as Sumner, I believe, the lap before. I was just trying to dive down and save my skin and finish out the race.
And what were your thoughts coming off of 1 and 2, and then once again with 3 and 4, going 4 wide down the backstretch to try and get that second position? How intense was that?
I had tunnel vision. I couldn't even tell you if it were 3 or 4 wide or not. Because the way I started this race, I believe I had qualified 19th, and just kind of with the history of my past races, luckily I had managed to dodge the checkup. Bubba made me burn off some tire wear. It was all kinds of things. So I was pretty satisfied, or happy I was mid-pack. But within that last 10 laps or so, it was crazy.
It definitely was, Nicholas. And as we head into next week at Milwaukee, a relatively track that doesn't get raced that often in this series, what are your thoughts heading into that?
Well, I treat each track like it's my first time, and that might be my downfall at the same time. But I mean, blank slate, try to do what I can days prior to get my time lower and lower. And so it's a 1 miler, I believe, Milwaukee Mile. Just I look forward to every race. Road courses, on the other hand, no.
Definitely. Well, Nicholas, is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go tonight?
Of course, the Rescue Racing crew. Of course, I've done all their paints for them, making them look, chef's kiss, spectacular. My wife for putting up with me day in, day out, or week in, week out to allow me to race. My brother for dragging me into PRL, even though he couldn't race tonight. It's his wife's birthday. Happy birthday to her as well. Also, you guys, PRL, ETC, Roman Delight, Inline 309. Just if I forgot someone, I'm sorry. I know I'm taking too much of your time.
Well, Nicholas, thanks for joining us up here in the booth, and we look forward to talking to you again, hopefully soon. Congratulations on your 4th place.
Thank you, sir. Can't wait to put my name on that promo, the end results tonight for Facebook posts.
And that was Nicholas Hunter, our 4th place finisher. Back to you, Joe.
Glad to see so many drivers so ecstatic about a victory tonight. Clearly, this was a special one. But, of course, we have to thank our sponsors before we go. Of course, starting with Simulation Motorsports Affinity. If you want to check them out, they are at SIMMSA.net. And then, of course, there is NinjaTrader. Their website is simply NinjaTrader.com. And then if you have a sim rig and you want to make it a little bit more fancy, you can go and get some stuff from Butt Kicker. They are at thebuttkicker.com. Thanks goes out to companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts, and they are listed here on your screen. Additional thanks goes to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today. Chris, Adam, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media, which includes Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. And the next race is going to be at Milwaukee. That'll be Wednesday, January 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.